is Roselle Chartock, and I want to welcome you to the first program in a new series called the Literacy Network of South Berkshire Presents. I'm a member of the board, and for 45 years I enjoyed a multi-level teaching career, including 25 years as an education professor at the Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts. The Literacy Network, which we often refer to as LitNet, is celebrating its 30th year, having begun in 1991 with the mission of matching learners with tutors for the purpose of teaching English language skills, including reading, writing, and speaking English. During these monthly half-hour shows, you'll become familiar with the work of the Literacy Network through our interviews with learners, tutors, board members, and many others, who will bring to life the important work of this organization. You'll hear their heartwarming and informative stories, and in addition, we'll keep you up to date on the activities of the network and answer questions you may have about how you might get involved. In fact, later you'll hear more about that from Leigh Doherty, the Executive Director of the Literacy Network of South Berkshire. But first, I want to introduce you to Pamela Breslin, a board member and chair of the organization's education committee, as well as a tutor. For 33 years, Pamela was on the faculty of Miss Hall's school in Pittsfield, as well as chair of the school's language department, where she developed international student programs, as well as foreign language and English programs. Currently, Pamela volunteers for a number of local organizations, including 18 Degrees, formerly Berkshire Children and Families, where she continues to teach weekly English classes, now virtually, of course. Pamela will now share with you some of her personal experiences with the Literacy Network, as well as what's involved in the role of tutoring English language students. And I'm happy to welcome Pamela Breslin.
Thank you, Roselle. What a nice introduction.
Well, it's lovely to have you on this first initial program. We're launching a wonderful series, and I'm happy to be able to have an experienced tutor as our guest. And so why don't you start out with some of the experiences you've had in general with the Literacy Network?
I've had so many interesting students with the LitNet, starting with one who arrived in the country at a bus stop in Pittsfield with 2 children of her 3, no documentation, and absolutely no English. And I'd like to say that today, several years later, she is an administrator with an organization that provides a lot of social services to a lot of very, very needy people. And I couldn't be more proud of her, because when she arrived, she needed help, and now that's exactly what she's doing. So that's the kind of story we tell with LitNet over and over. People need English to communicate. People need English to survive, and people need English to enhance their education in this system. So she was a perfect example of somebody who could really move right through basic colors, numbers. The whole idea of winter was foreign to her, and now she is able to help so many people do exactly the same, and even in a more dedicated way. Other people with whom I've worked have been graduate students who have been brought up in bilingual situations, and often their English is as polished as their other language, and there are gaps in the academic piece, the academic proficiency language, which is, of course, the kind of language you need to do a graduate course. Mm-hmm. So I've worked on helping people do better on the test of English as a foreign language, the TOEFL, and also on the graduate record exams. And it's kind of interesting to think that people who are entering advanced master's programs at terrific institutions in New England still need a little help with their English, but they know that they will benefit from the kind of tutoring we can offer. And everybody right now is in their graduate program or out of it with whom I've worked, so I'm proud of them too.
That's absolutely wonderful. I mean, that's the beauty of the Literacy Network is these heartwarming stories, and specifically what successes have happened. And so I'm wondering, you were motivated to become part of the Literacy Network, and I'm wondering if you could just talk briefly about how you came to the Literacy Network and to decide that you wanted to be a tutor.
I think I'm not alone among LitNet tutors saying that our dear friend Mary Spina corralled me somewhere, either Guido's or at the gym, and said that she had somebody in mind that she thought I'd be really comfortable working with. I was already teaching English as a second language, American culture, at a very advanced level at Miss Hall's. The students there were really determined to get into top universities in the U.S. So what I was doing during the day for my real job was helping students get high SAT scores, understand American culture, to feel a little more comfortable working with both Americans and in history classes, trying to understand how America is such a baby country compared to some of theirs. Mm-hmm. So it was really a relief to move to LitNet and realize that what I was doing was providing an American voice to someone who really may not have had another person in their circle to learn things from.
Let me ask you, can I?
Sure.
Something that I've often thought about, and I think that the breadth of your experience is such an asset. But two things. One is, does a tutor have to have a lot of teaching experience? That's my first question for you. And the second is, the people who come to LitNet to get English language skills, some of them might be reluctant because of shame, that I don't know how to do this, and I should by now know how to do this. So number one, about the teachers, and then how do we get to encourage students, learners, adult learners, how do we encourage them to come and not feel any shame in that at all?
Those are really important questions. And the first is, you do not need any background in education to work as a tutor with LitNet, because you're answering more than providing the conversation. If you're a good listener, then you'll have your curriculum written. And one thing I used to talk about with new students at Miss Hall's, and I would mention to tutors too, is that just have a plan. Don't put too many boats in the river. Put one boat in the river and take it downstream so that you're repeating information. I know full well that my 1 or 2 hours a week with a LitNet student is not what makes them fluent. It's that they're not afraid to start listening to other people and start participating in an English-speaking world. So what we do is just sort of open the door a little bit, provide some comfort, and anyone who wants to listen and learn about another person who has extraordinary skills in their own language is going to be a good tutor.
That's a wonderful answer, and I really think some of our listeners will feel like, I can do that. I'm ready to do that. This is not, a huge, teaching situation. It is teaching, but it's teaching in a very warm and supportive way. And so now the idea of how do we encourage adult learners to come forward and say, I need help. I want to learn.
That is such a difficult change of mind, because many of the people who live in the Berkshires right now and speak another language more comfortably than English also work in an environment where the language, their native language or the language they were raised in, is often the language of the workplace. And to change that, it's a big step, because you've got your community already, and that's a very safe community. The values are often shared. So it takes someone who really wants to say, I'm comfortable in my own language, I know my language, and I could do just a little bit more, maybe to help my kids, and not to put the burden of my lack of English on them, which is a very serious role for young children. And also, it's a very somber role for kids to have to do negotiating for their family. So I think that that's a good key to get an adult to say, I can take over from putting this on my kids. And also, whatever I learn is more than I knew.
Right.
The beauty of LitNet is it's one-on-one. And you feel very safe. It's not a classroom situation. There's no bully. There's no one waving a hand saying that they know or implying that they know more. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the other piece is the American tutor is going to probably be much less skilled in languages than the student at this point. The learner is trying to do something to become fluent in another language. And so many Americans never really got there. So if they were to think about speaking Chinese or Korean or Polish, or Spanish, Portuguese, every tutor realizes that they are as behind in that skill as the student might be at the beginning of their LitNet experience.
Right. So at this point, I wonder if we could hear one more story. You started out your comments with a wonderful story. Is there another experience you had with a student that is something that would help our listeners understand how rewarding the experience of being a tutor is?
I would be so hard-pressed to name one more story, because every student with whom I've worked has brought so much joy to me, taught me so much, given me so many new eyes into rooms I'd never explored. So I think probably what I would say is that every student with whom I've worked has had the initiative and the drive within herself or himself to take this little tiny start with LitNet and move it into a much bigger world. The people I've had the luck to work with are now doing amazing things in the Berkshire community. Mm-hmm. And so we've just been a nice entry. And hats off to them for not only sticking with it, but moving way beyond.
It's wonderful.
Thanks.
At this point, I think that Leigh Doherty is going to be joining us, and she is the Executive Director of the Literacy Network of South Berkshire, and will fill you in on, exactly what her role is and also how you might get involved if you have any interest. We will, of course, be presenting several more interviews which will answer a lot of your questions. But for now, I'm going to say goodbye. This is Roselle Chartock. I am a board member, and I'm happy that you are listening, and I hope that you learned and possibly decided that maybe you would like to get involved in some way. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roselle. Thank you, Pamela. My name is Leigh Doherty, and I'm the new Executive Director for the Literacy Network of South Berkshire. I served on the board for 2 years and been on the education committee for 2+ years, and I was delighted to be offered the job in September to help LitNet in a successful pivot during a trying time with the pandemic. So what have we been up to? We've been up to a lot since September. I wanted to just take this time to thank the very active board that we have of 16 volunteers who contribute a lot of time to thinking about the future of LitNet, and our volunteers, many wonderful volunteers who take their time to work with learners, to help them improve their English or to gain their success on their GED or HiSET exams, to become citizens of the United States. We have a wonderful group of tutors. What's been going on this fall? So this fall we have orchestrated a distance learning initiative wherein we had about 20 of our tutors, experienced tutors, trial online tutoring. Since we can't be in person, we didn't want to stop our services for the long haul, so we practiced and learned about doing distance learning tutoring. So using Zoom, using online resources, using shared books where a tutor has a book and a learner has a book, and they have conversations about the books. So 20 of those tutors are just about to finish this little research project where we learn some more. Also this fall, I have onboarded 40 new tutors. So people who have come to us and said they're interested, we've done online trainings, and they've begun with their learners tutoring in a distance fashion. So it's been quite a success. We've also had about over 50 referrals of new learners, and they're still coming in. Many of our learners come to us from BCC, the adult language program at BCC, and others come randomly through friends, through other organizations. So it has been a pleasure to connect learners with their tutors, to improve their English, to learn reading and writing in English, to work on their GED. And we've had just this fall 4 new citizens sworn in and become new Americans. So that's been a wonderful, something wonderful that's been happening at LitNet this fall. Something else is that the club program, maybe you've heard of Club, Community Learning in the Berkshires, that was organized by 5 local nonprofits, providing a space, 2 different campuses, the April Hill Farm in Egremont and Berkshire South in Great Barrington, provided a place for kids to go on remote learning days where they can have support. And Maria Rundle, the director of the April Hill Club program, reached out to me to see if LitNet could provide tutors, and we have been doing that. I've been tutoring there for the last 6 weeks, once a week, and we just collected a bunch of tutors that are interested in partnering with Club to help the kids get online and do what they need to do for school, so that's been very exciting. We are about to celebrate our 30th year, so 2021 marks 30 years for LitNet. LitNet was originally started in 1991 by 2 women who had expertise in special education and learning disabilities, and it started to provide reading support for local folks that were illiterate or struggling to read. We still provide those services. Pretty soon thereafter, in the 90s, many of our learners were folks who needed support with actually learning to speak English and read and write English. So now, today, we still offer support to anyone, U.S.-born folks who want support with improving their reading, their writing, preparing for GEDs, and to immigrants as well. About 90% of our learners, I would say, are immigrant learners. So what else? So I'm so happy that we're starting this series. Again, as Roselle mentioned, in the new year, you can expect to hear from different constituents connected with LitNet, from some board members, from some tutors, from some learners, from some people who donate. Maybe we'll have even an open question time where people can come and ask more questions about what we do and learn more about LitNet. We're always looking for tutors. So if you're someone who has the time to tutor, you want to learn more about that, you can contact me directly at info@litnetsb.org. That's LITNETSB.org. I'd be glad to talk you through it. I've had lots of calls with people who want to learn more. They say, I'm not a teacher. That's okay. You don't need to be a teacher. We can talk about how that looks, and I can personally help you get started and think about resources. If you know someone in the community who needs support with literacy, with language and literacy, if you have a neighbor or a community member or someone who works with you or for you that would like to improve their English, we are here to do that. Reading and writing as well. So LitNet is here. We're active. We're viable. Right now, we have 90 tutor learner pairs that are up and running. Normally, before pandemic, we had about 125 to 150, and we're still moving to get back up and running. We're not going to let this pandemic, we're not going to wait it out. We're going to do what we can and begin again virtually. We look forward to being in person again when we can. A big part of what we do is relationships. So tutors and learners form really strong personal relationships. And so we look forward to going back to those days. And equally, we feel that what we learned during this time period about being online, about electronic learning, can only improve what we do and allow for hybrid situations in the future. If it's snowing out, tutors and learners could still meet if they know how to interact virtually. Sometimes we have tutors who go away during the winter time and they have to postpone or pause their tutoring, they could still continue to work in this way. So we only see this time period as a learning time period, as a growing time period. We do not see it as stopping us or slowing us down. We pause like everybody else and learn new things, and we continue to learn new things, and we will continue to do so. So look forward to hearing more about our upcoming series, the Literacy Network of South Berkshire Presents, here on this local channel. So thanks very much.